What if I told you that the American national anthem isn't truly American? What if the song that millions stand for, hand on heart, during games, ceremonies, and national holidays, was actually born in the smoky, drunken backrooms of an exclusive English gentlemen's club known for secret rituals, political manipulation, and a melody whispered to have been borrowed, stolen, from a tradition far older than the United States itself? Tonight, we're going to uncover the forbidden origins of the Star-Spangled Banner and why the story you know is only the patriotic version they let you hear. The mystery begins long before Francis Scott Key ever wrote a single word. Before the bombs, before the War of 1812, before the iconic image of a tattered American flag waving through smoke. The real story starts in London, sometime in the early 18th century, in a private club where the wealthy and influential gathered not only to drink, but to share coded songs, obscure toasts, and melodies no outsider was supposed to hear. It was called the Anacreontic Society, named after the ancient Greek poet Anacreon, who wrote about wine, love, and excess. A fitting name, because excess was exactly what this club was built on. The Anacreontic Society wasn't just a social group, it was a hidden world. Powerful lawyers, politicians, bankers, and aristocrats came together under the guise of celebrating music. But the real attraction was something else: the freedom to speak, drink, and behave beyond the reach of polite society. Behind closed doors, where candles flickered and wine flowed endlessly, members shared songs meant only for one another. Songs filled with coded meaning, political snark, and humor that could never survive the public eye. One of these songs, known formally as the Anacreontic Song, carried a melody that would eventually become the most patriotic tune in the United States. But its origins were far from patriotic. The melody wasn't just a tavern tune. Many historians argue it was already old by the time the society adopted it. Some suggest it pulled fragments from older folk traditions, Irish, Scottish, even Mediterranean influences woven into something strangely hypnotic. Others claim it was inspired by even earlier ceremonial music, performed during exclusive gatherings that blended performance with ritual. But here's where the mystery deepens. Despite the society being packed with well-documented members, no one can definitively trace the melody's true origin. It simply appears complete, polished, and perfect for drinking rituals in a world where almost nothing else was left undocumented. This lack of authorship sparked rumors, even among the elite at the time. Members joked, half seriously, that the melody belonged to no man, that it was borrowed from the ancients. Others teased that it had been lifted from a wandering musician who had stumbled into London and then disappeared. And if you think that sounds like myth, consider this. While the lyrics were written by club member John Stafford Smith, the melody itself was never officially claimed by anyone. In a culture obsessed with credit, fame, and recognition, this silence is strange, almost too strange. But the melody did not stay locked behind London's velvet curtains forever. Copies circulated. Traveling musicians played fragments. Colonial Americans heard it in taverns. And while they didn't understand the secret rituals it once accompanied, they certainly recognized a good tune when they heard one. It spread across the Atlantic like a whisper, changing lyrics many times along the way. It became a drinking song, then a patriotic song, then a political song. Rewritten again and again until it landed in the hands of one man at one pivotal moment. Francis Scott Key. A lawyer, a poet, a man caught between loyalty, religion, and the brutal reality of a war unfolding around him. In 1814, during the Battle of Baltimore, Key found himself aboard a British ship negotiating the release of an American prisoner. He witnessed one of the most violent nights of the war, cannons firing, rockets streaking across the sky, the fort below engulfed in flame and smoke. Legend says he paced the deck, watching helplessly as the night unfolded in fire and thunder. But here is the part that textbooks never question. When Key later wrote the poem that would become the Star-Spangled Banner, he didn't choose a solemn hymn. He didn't choose a heroic march. He chose a party song, a club anthem, a melody tied to rituals of wine, laughter, secrecy, and indulgence. A melody that had absolutely nothing to do with war, bravery, or American identity. Why? Some say it was simply popular at the time. convenient, easy to sing. But others believe Key chose it because the melody already carried power, centuries of emotional weight. Musicologists agree that something about the tune is almost unnaturally stirring, with dramatic leaps and phrases that grip the listener instinctively. It feels important, even if its original purpose was far from noble. But here's where the conspiracy deepens. When Key repurposed the melody, America adopted it quickly. Too quickly. Songs normally rise and fall. They compete with others. But this one surged, almost unnaturally, through military circles, public ceremonies, and political events. It rose so fast that by the time Congress declared it the official national anthem in 1931, many Americans had already forgotten, or never even knew, that the melody came from a British drinking club filled with secrets. And the more historians dig, the stranger it gets. Not only is the original authorship of the melody unclear, but documents from the Anacreontic Society are missing. Minutes lost, records incomplete, personal notes burned or hidden. Was it simply neglect? Or did someone want the trail to disappear once the melody became politically symbolic? Pop culture has played into this mystery for decades. In films and documentaries, directors sometimes hint, subtly, that great national symbols often hide inconvenient truths. Audiences love the romantic myth of Key, inspired by battle, writing a masterpiece as the dawn reveals a surviving flag. But rarely does anyone question why a nationalist poem fits so perfectly over a tune born in a club dedicated to pleasure, secrecy, and songs designed to test vocal range after too much wine. It becomes even more intriguing when you learn that some early American critics despised the choice. They argued it was undignified, too difficult, too tied to British culture. They preferred other candidates, songs with entirely American melodies. But Key's tune persisted, almost as if the melody itself refused to be replaced. What if it wasn't chosen, but destined? What if the sound of a stolen melody, ancient, wandering, mysterious, was always meant to echo through moments of national pride, uniting people through something far older than patriotism? And now for the final twist, the part that rarely makes it into history books. Scholars studying early musical manuscripts found something shocking. Variations of the anthem melody appear in sources predating the Anacreontic Society. Fragments show up in Italian collections, German student songs, even earlier British manuscripts. They appear inconsistently, under different names, scattered across decades and across borders. No single source claims authorship. No one explains the melody's origin. It simply moves through history like a ghost. Which leads to the colpo di scena. The American national anthem is built on a melody that likely existed long before Britain, long before America, long before the people who sang it had any idea what it would one day represent. A melody that traveled silently through cultures, reshaped by every society that touched it. A melody used for pleasure, then ritual, then patriotism. A melody with no owner, only passengers. So the next time you hear the Star-Spangled Banner, remember this. You're not just listening to the story of a nation. You're listening to a puzzle piece from a musical lineage older than the flag itself, older than the war that inspired the lyrics, older even than the club that tried to keep the tune behind velvet curtains. You're listening to a ghost melody, borrowed, stolen, transformed, echoing through centuries, carrying secrets no one has fully solved. And that is the real mystery behind the anthem everyone thinks they know.